Welcome back to Unlimited Reads. You're with Chris, and thanks for joining me today for my final spoiler-free vlog for Wind and Truth by Brandon Sanderson, Book 5 in the Stormlight Archive. Now guys, I thought I'll film outside today again because it's nice. There is a bit of a wind, and I thought I'll enjoy my cup of coffee on my porch. I wanted to keep things pretty informal. There's a bit of a gust of wind here, so I'll apologise for that. I just wanted to keep things organic, informal. I'm not going to be working from a script as such. I do have a couple of points written down that I will refer to from time to time, but what I'm going to be talking about today is days 9 and 10 of the book, and wrapping up with some final thoughts, because this book was an absolute epic. It took me 20 days to finish, so I'll talk about that in a minute. But from the outset, guys, I think the book overall was a little bit too long. It dragged in a couple of places. I particularly struggled with days 5 and 6 where not much was happening, and it kind of slowed my reading pace down, because if nothing much is happening, my pace does slow down. When things do happen and ramp up and elevate, that's when my reading picks up a little bit, and I did fly through days 9 and 10 pretty quickly because there is so much happening in these 2 days. Everything comes to a head because Brandon Sanderson wraps up the first arc in his 10-book series, so he had to juggle a couple of balls in the air at the same time to actually get things just right. Now, I will say that the ending wasn't what I wanted, but the ending made a lot of sense where he put his characters. So I'll start off by talking about Kaladin, who is one of my favourite characters in the Stormlight Archive. He isn't given much to do during the large portions of the book. He is accompanying Szeth on his quest to cleanse Shinovar, and and that's okay. I mean, he fights some honor bearers and things like that, and achieves his ultimate goal, which is all fine. But I found Szeth's backstory in particular wasn't really overwhelming to me. It wasn't compelling compared to other backstories. I mean, Dalinar's backstory in Oathbringer, come on, that is my favourite backstory in the entire Stormlight Archive. It is my favourite book in the Stormlight Archive. Even Shallan's backstory and Kaladin's backstory, Szeth's backstory fails in comparison compared to those. That's just how I feel about it. Nothing much was exciting about his early life. With Kaladin's early life, it was so compelling, and I won't dwell too much on that. But I really feel Kaladin's journey, how it comes to an end, was very well done, and I think Brandon Sanderson has done very well to keep things open for recurring characters to come back in Era 2 of the Stormlight Archive, which we're not going to see for probably at least 10 years. So on Roshar, that similar time frame is going to pass. So I wonder what's going to happen in 10 years. Things can change dramatically. Just while I'm on the subject of Kaladin as well, how his story arc evolves, I really find it interesting how this book is about second chances for heralds in particular. Okay, normally all to do with the Oath Pact in the first book. When we see them at the start of the Way of Kings, they're tortured, and the Oath Pact is broken, and they get punished for that. I think things are going to be different this time, because I can't really say too much because it'll be spoilers, but how the heralds in particular are reset, I'll say, is very, very interesting, and how they would play a part in Era 2 is very interesting as well, because I think they might be even more powerful than what they were originally, and I think that's really, really fascinating. Brandon Sanderson has put some characters into some form of stasis, ready for Era 2. So Kaladin's journey has come to fruition to some point, which I found really, really interesting. I found Adolin's arc, for the most part, not much was happening until the end, where he really had a really, really big moment fighting one of the Fused in Azamir. I found that very good towards the end. One thing I have to talk about is the competition between Odium's champion and Honor's champion. Now, it is not what you think. If you think of a competition as something violent and bloody and all-out war, you will be mistaken. It's hard to explain without spoiling anything, but the final confrontation is not what you think. and it is so unexpected. You will never, ever guess who Odium's champion is, and I don't think anyone saw that coming. It was a real shock, and made sense as well with how certain characters were manipulated and chess pieces placed into position in order for Odium to gain an advantage in his goals. But that said, Honor's champion, who I'm not going to reveal here, does something completely unexpected to throw Odium off his perch and throws him off balance, and opens up really big ramifications for the Cosmere in general, and Odium's not ready for it. He is not ready for it, and this character sacrifices himself for the greater good, and it changes the ecology and environment of Roshar forever. And I think that was an absolutely massive moment. There is a massive change to the elements of Roshar, which I can't spoil for you, but it's always been an integral part of the environment and currency and power, which has changed forever, and that's all I'll say there. But pretty big moments there, guys. Shallan's story arc ends fairly satisfactorily. We know that she has been struggling across several books with the Ghostbloods, who are hell-bent on achieving their goals. And then what impressed me the most about Shallan's arc here is how she overcomes her obstacles and how she wins in the end against her challenges. And I found that really, really great, because who she went up against is very, very clever, and she outsmarts him and gets through to the end, which I find very, very interesting. We have Navani's story arc is, how do I say it without spoiling anything? Brandon Sanderson puts certain characters on ice for the moment. So we have a couple of characters who are out of the picture. All the main characters are separated. We have Navani somewhere. We have Shallan in Shadesmar at the moment. We have Adolin in Azamir. There's a nice little moment there at the end where the sun comes out and he feels something pretty profound, which was very, very nice. And obviously we have Kaladin elsewhere as well. So all the main characters are separated, which I think they will reunite in Era 2 of the Stormlight Archive, but how that happens I'm not sure. But the way Sanderson ended things made a lot of sense to me, even though it wasn't the ending I wanted. I wanted an Avengers Endgame moment with a couple of other entities from the Cosmere coming in and supporting the Alethi and Dalinar and all the others, but that wasn't to happen. But we may get a moment like that in Era 2 when we eventually get it. Now, I need to talk about Yasna here for a little bit, because she is a very good character. I have a real soft spot for her. Even though she doesn't get a lot to do in this book, her role is still impactful, even though it's small. So she goes up against Odium to an extent, and by the end of the book we see her as a little bit broken, because she is suffering loss, she is suffering guilt, she has lost someone very near and dear to her, she has lost someone she was in a relationship with, she feels that she has failed in her endeavours to contribute to what she needed to. So she's not in a really good place at the moment, and I really feel for her. So even though she had a very minor role, her role was still impactful, and I would like to see a bit more of her in the future, because I think she has so much potential, and I think she is a very underrated character, much like Navani. I really enjoy watching Jasna use her powers, which wasn't so much in this book, but she's a character definitely to watch out for, because I think she's great. Alright, so let's wrap it up with some final thoughts. The book was a bit long, but there were emotional moments in it for me. How it compares with the rest of the Stormlight books, I think it's better than Rhythm of War, okay, but it doesn't compare to Oathbringer, I'm sorry to say. Oathbringer is my favourite through the whole Stormlight Archive, and I can't be swayed there because of how I went to hell and back with Dalinar, and just love him as a character. He is probably my favourite character in the Stormlight Archive. I think it was very, very well written. I think Brandon Sanderson is very smart on what he did with his characters to prepare them for Era 2 of the Stormlight Archive. I think the characters are ready for Era 2, and I find that really good. So the climactic ending was, there was a lot of writing about the shards and the gods and things like that, which I found a little bit confusing at times, and how things relate to the Cosmere in general. It means that I may need to reread it down the track, because I feel like I've forgotten something or missed a few things, but overall the book was very good. I didn't absolutely fall in love with it like I did with Oathbringer, but it was still pretty solid, even though it dragged in days 5 and 6, which was a little bit of a letdown, but that's just me. But as things got to the end, I found it really, really compelling. I was on the edge of my seat all through days 9 and 10, and I didn't mind the final end notes and things like that, and the final interludes and that sort of thing, where it left things open, and the final part where Odium retreats to a secret place that he has kept for himself was very, very interesting as well. But I just can't help wondering what is going to happen in Era 2. Now, I know Brandon Sanderson knows what's going to happen, because he wouldn't commit to a 10-book series without making outlines. So he knows exactly what's going to happen. He, when he talks about things, he appears confident about what's going to happen. He's got it all under control, and I don't think we've seen the biggest moments in the Stormlight Archive yet, even though there have been some massive reveals and revelations. I think we're in for a treat when we eventually get Stormlight Era 2. I'm looking forward to what Brandon Sanderson's coming out with next. He is going to be doing 2 planned books for Elantris, so 2 sequels there. He's going to do a Warbreaker sequel. He's going to do the novelisation of White Sand. There are other things happening there as well. He's got a non-Cosmere, not-crime novel coming out, which is going to be excellent. So even though we're not getting Stormlight Archive for a little while now, there are going to be other books to enjoy. I think I'm looking forward to Mistborn Era 3, which is going to be all about the Ghostbloods, which is really, really fascinating as well. So there's a lot more Sanderson to come in between Stormlight Archive, which I'm really looking forward to. So the book took me 20 days to read, so it was a bit of a hard slog, and now I'm looking forward to getting sunk into a couple of palate cleansers. So I'm going to read a couple of short things, which will be a nice relief to finish out the month of December. And yeah, it was pretty good overall. So there you go, guys. That is it for my last spoiler-free vlog for Wind and Truth. Thank you very much for watching. If you like my videos, please consider subscribing. Just a reminder, if I get to 1,000 subscribers, I have made the commitment that I'm going to get drunk on camera in a live stream. So that's going to be very entertaining in itself, because I'm not really a big drinker. If I have a couple of beers, I'm going to be pretty much, what would I say, pretty jovial and pretty happy. But until the next video, guys, happy reading.